Hello, welcome to the video. Who doesn't like a good roguelite? The genre has gotten a lot of traction, filling the space with titles such as Risk of Rain, Slay the Spire, Hades, Risk of Rain 2, Slay the Spire 2, Hades 2, Dead Cells, Witchfire, FTL, Megabonk, Balatro, and Crab Champions, just to name a few. One of my personal favorites in recent memory is Vampire Survivors, a roguelite where you take a little dude and you make them roam around in a field. You auto attack to kill mobs to gain XP to gain more weapons to kill more mobs, and stuff gets pretty nutty very fast. In comparison to other games within the genre, your only options are movement and upgrade selection, which sounds super limiting, but in reality it really isn't. I think a lot of it comes from the presentation in tandem with the vast amount of content that the game has to offer. The developer of Vampire Survivors used to be a developer within the gambling industry, and you can definitely tell. When the dopamine hits, it hits like Sherlock Holmes. Great game, great value, 10 out of 10 would recommend. However, like any great roguelite, there needs to be a sequel, or in this case a spiritual successor. The team behind Vampire Survivors has made another game in the form of Vampire Crawlers. Instead of it being a bullet hell, it is now a deck builder. So while the gameplay is different, the approach is still the same. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because like its predecessor, it is in fact gamble maxing without the gambling. It has taken me a bit to get around to making this video, because I've been playing recently released titles on top of this one. So I do apologize for that, but better late than never. During this video, I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to Vampire Survivors, due to the fact that Crawlers is working off of that game's framework. So keep that in mind. This is my review of Vampire Crawlers. To put it simply, Monster Hunter Stories to Monster Hunter is a very similar comparison to what Vampire Crawlers is to Vampire Survivors. It eases you into the gameplay with brief explanations and then begins to widen the range of possibilities as you progress. As in the name describes, this is a dungeon crawler, exploring the instance, finding items, and fighting mobs. Combat is front and center in Vampire Crawlers. Each character, called Crawlers in this game, they have an assigned deck to them from the start, in tandem with their character card that gives you a unique buff during your run. Depending on your upgrades, you can have over 3 crawlers in your party at once. Each card that you can play has a mana cost associated with it. Your goal is to maximize your hand with the limited supply of mana in which you have. Different cards have different effects, such as receiving mana when played, dealing damage, drawing cards, XP multiplier, etc. A way of maximizing your hand is with the game's combo system. Dealing cards from your hand from least expensive mana cost to most expensive mana cost builds up a multiplier on the right hand side of your screen. The larger the combo in which you build, the more powerful the next card will be, as long as it's still within sequential order. As you clean house and kill mobs, you will gain XP, with every level up giving you a selection screen, just like Vampire Survivors. It mostly contains new cards to add to your deck, however you occasionally get an augmentation being an upgrade for a card in which you already have. This can be anywhere from whenever this card is played you draw another card, all the way to changing the mana cost, thus extending the potential combo meter in which you can build. Weapon unions make a return from Vampire Survivors, which is combining 2 items together to make a super powerful variant. And as you can see from everything playing behind me, the visuals makes this game look like a day in the casino, which can be very addictive. When finishing a level, either by dying or when the Red Reaper comes after you and you finish the stage, you return back to the village, a hub area where you can prep for your future runs, power-ups, upgrading cards, even changing the rarity of certain things appearing in the future. I haven't even talked about the Arcana. Arcana cards act as a modifier for your run, usually yielding some crazy results, and then you go back in. Rinse and repeat to infinitum because it is a roguelite. Some cards have really good synergy with each other, to the point of making a run borderline busted. Take for instance the Attract Orb with the Bracer. When playing the Attract Orb, you draw a certain number of cards based on your combo meter. The Bracer, when played, expands your hand size for your next turn. So by the time your turn is over, your hand size will be larger. At a certain point, your hand will look like a novel. If you have no more cards to draw from your deck, you will start to draw from the discard pile, being able to replay certain cards in a single turn. This makes an infinite deck, which absolutely breaks the game. However, like its predecessor, the game is aware that the player is doing this. So there are soft guards in place to ensure things don't get out of line. I'm primarily mentioning the Reapers in this case. Reapers are powerful optional bosses that either end your easier run or appear when you are breaking the confines of the game. I say soft guards because if you are powerful enough, you can in fact defeat the Reapers. I'm about 20 hours into this game and there's still more for me to do, so I don't think content is a problem. The only criticism that I really have with this game is that I wish that there was more depth with the deck building. It does feel like a lot of the game funnels around an infinite deck rather than build variety. You could probably make a similar argument for Vampire Survivors. The difference is that the gameplay in Vampire Survivors is inherently simple. You move, and you auto attack. Deck builders inherently have a lot more mechanical density. Take for instance Balatro. That game allows you to make a ton of different decks and a ton of different builds. Yes, some of them are way more broken than others. There is still a lot of variety with the build that you could have in Balatro, rather than just funneling into one Omega deck. With the game's success selling over 1 million copies in a week, I have no doubt that the future of Vampire Crawlers is going to be similar to that of Vampire Survivors, with content updates and DLC. So maybe then they will add more deck variety and ways to interact with the game. But until then, we just have to wait and see what happens. But overall, I gotta say, I am thoroughly enjoying Vampire Crawlers. If you like Vampire Survivors, you'll already be familiar with this game. And if you haven't played Vampire Survivors, that's totally okay too. I think you'll get enjoyment out of this one as well. I highly recommend picking it up if it piques your interest. Now, would you excuse me? I'm gonna go gambling without the gambling. Thank you for watching.